Welcome to the Dylan Joe Basement Podcast, guys. We're your hosts, Dylan.
Hold on. I didn't know we were starting yet. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I love throwing the wild ball at you. It's so much more fun.
I gotta
Yeah.
go grab a beer. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Jill and Joe Basement Podcast. It's me, Joe, and our other host.
Dylan.
Welcome, one and all. This week, of course, we're talking about the greatest holiday of the year, St. Paddy's Day. Since this is our last podcast before St. Patrick's Day, we're talking about leprechauns, everyone's favorite fairy creatures, the mascot of St. Patrick's Day.
And it's our 17th episode, and St. Patty's Day is on the 17th this year, and we're probably going to have this for you before then.
We couldn't have timed it better. This is our last episode right before St. Patrick's Day, our 17th episode, celebrating March 17th of this year. And we thought we had a couple of weeks in a row of some diving deep into the muck and the mire of conspiracies and weird theories and possibly true ideas about ancient times. We figured it's St. Patty's Day. Let's take it like this week. Let's talk about leprechauns. So that's our subject this week. Leprechauns, the mystical fairy folk. We all know what they look like. They look something like this.
Something like that.
Pretty close. A little bit shorter
Actually,
than me.
pretty much exactly like that. Unless you go back a couple hundred years, and we'll find out what's up with that story.
Oh, yes, we will.
Right, won't we?
So we figured we touch on it. We're gonna shoot the shit a little bit, probably more than usual, just so we can keep rolling through. I don't have a million things to say about leprechauns, but it's definitely something worth talking about because it is a mythical beast, as it were, and it is an interesting idea on where the idea comes from and why it's so synonymous with not only all kinds of things about Ireland, but the St. Patrick's Day holiday in particular.
Well, and who better to hear it from than two descendants of Irish immigrants?
That's right. Yeah.
Joe clearly is not from crazy places who aren't full of Irish people.
Yeah. I'm
I was
from
the
the part
Mongolia.
of America that
I don't want
has...
to. I was saying crazy, but you just don't look like you're Mongolian. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't look like a Mongolian yet. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm from the part of America that has currently right now more Irish people than there are in Ireland, just because of the way the population works out, strangely enough.
That's crazy. I mean, it makes. I've never given thought to that. Just like I've never given thought too much to leprechauns.
And that's strange. There's more Irish people in America than in Ireland now, if you look at their descendants.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And Boston specifically, our sports teams have the shamrock on them.
Yeah, the Celtics.
And this just happens to be a home of a lot of Irish people going way back. So Joe, you're at least 50%, right?
Well, as far as I know, all my great grandparents came from Ireland. But
Every single one of them.
But I'd imagine if you go further back, yeah. But I imagine if you go further back, they probably came from whatever, France or whatever else. I don't know how to go further back than that. I'm sure if I did the ancestry.com thing, it wouldn't be 100% Irish because genetics don't really work that way. They don't just go from where your grandparents are born and that's you. But I'd imagine that a lot of it would be that just because of the great grandparents.
And you look the part, so
I do look the part. Yeah, it's I don't know how people usually go through life, but I'm someone who, when I meet them, they immediately guess I'm Irish, and I feign offense to it, and I go, "How dare you guess it?" And then they go, "You're not Irish," and I go, "No, I am. Yeah, I am."
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
Don't speak too soon about the ancestry report, by the way. I think that you're...
Oh, yeah, from hearing what Pat's report.
Oh, my God. Yeah. My, believe it or not, my brother-in-law, shout out to Patrick Maloney.
Pat Maloney.
And their daughter, Fiona Maloney, and my sister, Grace. So I did Ancestry Report, and I came back mostly European. I've got
Mhm.
some other interesting things in there. And Patrick thought he's like he wanted to find something else in there. He knew his parents are Irish, and he's
Sure.
like there's got to be
But
there's
yeah,
got
you don't know how far back it goes. Who
yeah,
knows?
there's got to be something in there. And his came back to 99.9% Irish.
I mean, that's got to be as much as there's Irish people or people of Irish descendants in America. That's got to be as close as you can get to 100% and still be, third generation American. That is pretty fucking Irish if I ever heard it.
Absolutely.
Because that means both those parents are 100% Irish. There's no
Right.
other version of that happening. That's wild.
Yeah, I didn't even think that was possible because like I had
Me
I had a
neither.
certain percentage of unknown, I had a certain percentage of like
Mhm.
other things in there too. Like I was like, come on,
Otherworldly.
let's be real. There's gotta be something in there for everybody. Not him.
Not
Definitely
him.
not him at all.
Straight down the pipe.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think I'm that degree of Irish, but I'm not gonna take one of those ancestry.com things. I don't like them having my DNA. I know it's
Oh yeah,
fucking
yeah. Make sure
tinfoil
you check
hatty
that
of
out.
me, but I don't care enough to know that degree to have them save my DNA in a database, which they're no inclined to do. It kind of stinks of me to like the how Facebook is like, oh yeah, it's free. We just sell to advertisers and they can advertise, but the real money is in selling your data. That's what I think ancestry.com is going to be in 10 years. They're going to say, oh, you have to pay us, $60 and we'll do your DNA processing, which is a very expensive process to do. So the margins must be pretty thin on that, even with the shipping and handling. Then you get, but also we get to keep a record of every single genetic genome that we have in the Herald database. We never have to delete it. So I feel like that might be the end goal of that company is to make a lot more money having a bank of the genome of millions of people. Maybe not.
I
That
think you're
could
right.
that could be a little wild and tinfoil hatty, but I feel like that's a lot better at gaining money than I mean, before 10 years ago, you couldn't actually accomplish that financially. You'd have to do it only, law enforcement would do it because it's so expensive to sequence someone's genome and then look at I know they don't do a full sequencing the way that you do for like a DNA sample, but they do it to the degree that you can find out your ancestry. And that is some fucking deep shit. And it doesn't cost $20, I'll tell you that.
It cost me more than that. I mean, I got it on sale for $99.
Mm. See, that makes sense that
Still
it would be
paid
that
out the ass
expensive. But
for it.
even then, that's cheap. That's cheap for figuring out your DNA. They still got to pay the techs. They got to pay for all the fucking supplies. They got to ship it out. They got to do the whole website.
And not to
I
mention,
feel like it probably should cost like $500 to find that out, but you can find it out for $100, and then all you have to do is give up your DNA.
yeah, you used to have to be wanted for murder for this to happen, and now you just pay
Now
$100.
anyone can find. That's how they caught
That's
the Golden State Killer. Was from his niece, I believe, did Ancestry.com, and they figured out her DNA was so similar. I mean, that's some wild shit.
that is some wild shit. It's pretty crazy.
In Dublin's fair city, where girls are so pretty, I once met a girl named Sweet Molly Malone. She'd roll her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. So that's what you learn about DNA on the DNA process. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about leprechauns today, the fairy folk.
Sorry, guys, we went off the rails on that one, but it's
It's interesting. It's
So
something to
Joe,
talk about.
what did you do today to prepare to learn and talk about leprechauns?
Yeah, so I thought we'd go into a little bit of like what are leprechauns, where did they come from? And we have this idea in our head that they look like I do right now with a full garb and everything, but why do we think that? And what are they really about? I mean, we usually dive a little deeper in than just the cursory knowledge, and I thought we'd go into it. Do you want me to start rattling off what I think leprechauns are?
Let's fucking do it, man. Let's make it
Sure.
happen. Yeah.
So, like I said, leprechauns are fairies, and in Irish mythology, it's druidism, and fairies are a huge part of it. I mean, everyone which was believing in the old Irish religions, they call it paganism or Celtic paganism now, but you would think of it more as a druidism. It's before Christianity reached the Irish Isles, and it's a lot of magical, mystical thinking. So fairies are real, spirits are real, the spirits of the forest are real as well, and they believe that fairies interacted with humans. Sometimes they help them, sometimes they hurt them. And a particular kind of fairy we're talking about here today is the leprechaun, which is considered a fairy because not all fairies have wings like Tinkerbell in Irish mythology. Some of them are just like, people who live in the woods. And leprechauns are one of those. They're usually depicted as tiny old men rather than women. They're almost always male leprechauns. I couldn't find any female
I've
leprechauns.
never seen a girl leprechaun.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. You know what I mean?
Everyone needs someone to love, man. They gotta be out there.
Yeah, but a huge part of leprechauns is that they're hermits, and they're kind of grouchy old crotchety men. I mean, they don't have wives, they don't have a lot of friends. They just kind of live in the woods by themselves, and that's kind of their deal. Like any old Irish man should be angry and live alone and hate the world. It's a very Irish thing, leprechauns.
It is. It's a very Irish thing to do.
It is, isn't it?
It really is. Makes sense. I feel that surfacing all the time from my long ways away ancestors.
For sure, yeah, it always bubbles up in me. I've been a leprechaun for about a year now since COVID hit. I've been a crotchety old hermit by myself, mad at the world.
Getting angry at shit.
I'm lonely. I miss everybody, but whenever I go out in public, I can't wait for them to stop talking to me. I'm like, I don't want to fucking talk to you. I don't know.
Special tunnel to get to your house. Really keep people away.
I can't let anyone know where my pot of gold is.
I was gonna say hiding all this gold.
Yeah. Oh my gold, yeah.
No one's really seen Joe go to work in a while. Maybe you are fucking falling gold out of your sleeves.
Oh, I wish.
Could be.
Yeah, no. Last time I was at work, I felt like a leprechaun for sure. Every time someone went and talked to me, I was like, "Stop it! I don't know you. Get away from me."
Yeah, no, I no longer I no longer communicate with people. Just completely. Feels good.
Yeah. So leprechaun, it comes from Old Middle English in Ireland. So Irish itself, we call it Gaelic. It's its own language, so it's got a lot of different sounds of English. But a lot of when English settlers start coming over, you start getting that, what we call it, Spanglish in America. You that mixing of languages, and
not just a movie from Adam Sandler.
Yeah, it is Adam Sandler. But they named the movie after an actual concept, the mixing of the two languages.
Okay, all right.
And Irish is a lot like that. I mean, there's still people who speak Irish or Gaelic fluently. They even have it on the street signs in Ireland. They'll have it in English and then in Gaelic underneath, which kind of reminds me of Canada, Montreal in particular. They still will have French up there because they want to keep the language alive. And it's still an alive language. A lot of people still speak it, but most people don't speak it as their primary language. It's usually like a secondary language that you can speak as well. Kind of like if you are in America, you can speak Portuguese and English in your daily life, usually speaking English, but maybe to your grandparents, your family, you can speak Portuguese, you can read Portuguese. That's what Gaelic is in Ireland now.
Does it have the same letters?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of letters have accents on them, kind of like in Russian where you change them up a bit. But yeah, all the letters are the same in Gaelic as in English. I don't know if the original written language would have the same letters, because I think that the English spelling is kind of like when you spell konnichiwa in English. You can spell it with letters, but it's not really spelled that way. It's spelled with Japanese characters. I'd imagine the original Gaelic was probably spelled with different symbols, but you can spell the whole language in English letters, and you can put them up on street signs or whatever.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, because do you know the origins of your last name, like where Collins comes from?
Yeah, it comes from O'Colean, which is spelled O apostrophe Colean. And if I remember my 8th grade project right, it means like the dog or something weird like that. I don't remember exactly what it means, but basically every single Irish name comes with an O apostrophe because it means of. The equivalent would be of like Joseph's son would be like, I'm the son of Joseph. It's of the something. So even people who are in Ireland now that have names without the O in there probably was an O at some time in the past, and they kind of dropped it over time. And a lot of times it would happen when you go to Ellis Island or in America, you change it. Oh, I'm O'Colean. It's like, all right, Collins, got it. Moving on. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna make you sound like whatever. Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Of the dog. Maybe you guys were sheepdog people.
Maybe Irish wolfhound.
Fucking cool, man. I was just hanging out with some goats a couple days ago, and I'm really, really into them.
Hell yeah. And sheep is a huge part of Ireland. I mean, if you look behind me, all those rolling hills and stuff are usually just for herding sheep. And they have cows too, but a big part of the economy used to be sheep wool.
Yeah, I mean, even this Donegal tweed woven in Ireland hat.
Yeah.
Was woven from pure new wool in the County Donegal, Ireland. I've read this before.
Donegal. Exactly right. Picture those itchy Irish sweaters and those beautiful hats, just all made of sheep's wool.
This is it. This is every single itchy hat and sweater in one hat.
Absolutely. I mean,
All
that's
the
just the
colors.
most Irish
Imagine
thing.
this blazer, this blazer, this blazer, this
It's all the
blazer,
swatches, right?
this blazer, this blazer, this blazer, and this blazer.
Just,
All different people, one hat.
it keeps you warm. It does its job. Super uncomfortable.
Well, the inside's like sort of like a silk thing. It's not bad.
Nice.
It's pretty good. So it's the story.
So speaking of
before you move on, I was gonna say my last name because I'm just excited to tell
oh
everyone.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Not totally sure English or Irish, just because that group of people on my side are kind of intertwined. The Browns and the Reeds and the Duffys and all that stuff.
Well, Duffy, you don't have to look very far to find out that's Irish.
I don't have to find out very far for that. So that's my great grandmother's a Duffy. But Reed, just like Brown, are both. Is this right, Joe? I feel like this is something you would know. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I don't. I will follow you though.
Okay. Yeah. Reed was meant two different things of red hair. So like a red-haired person. We got a lot of the Reeds were the red-haired people. Red-haired, Brown, my mom's maiden name, means like criminals. They would give them colors.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm a criminal or a red-haired person.
Could be both. Why not?
A criminal red hair, yeah, could be.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would rather be a criminal than of the sheepdogs.
If that's what it is.
Some people are like Men of the Hills. Their last names like Collins.
The hills have eyes.
Like a breeder of dogs or whatever the hell. Who knows what that possibly meant? But mine's just, oh yeah, you were in jail. That's your name.
You're prisoner 1267. Yeah, that's rough.
It's been in jail for a long time.
That's not easy.
Go to America. Have fun.
So speaking of Gaelic, it seems that that's what the word leprechaun came from. Is that mixing between English language and the old Irish language?
Yeah, I consistently have that too.
Yeah, so it comes from the word I'm not pronouncing this correctly, but lucorpan. So it comes from the beginning part lu, which means little, like little lu, and corp meaning body, like a corporeal form, a corpse. Corp comes from that Latin for body. So lupercon meaning a little body person. You know, that makes a lot of sense. They're little tiny people. But what do they really do? I mean, we know that they're little and that they're from Ireland, but there's a lot of things about leprechauns that are more of a modern idea, a lot of ancient ideas, not exactly ancient, but older ideas. One of them is that they're skilled cobblers. They're little tiny men that live in the wood, and they're skilled cobblers, which I didn't realize is part of their traits. They're very good at making and maintaining shoes. And I learned that one of the reasons for that is because they love to dance so much, and they love to dance all night, that they have to keep repairing their shoes because they're ruining their shoes by dancing so much.
So my first question, dancing. My first question on that was, because I got a lot of stuff going on with leprechauns and what's up with their story, and it's very common that they're into shoes. They're cobblers, and one of the ways you can catch them is listen for them to making shoes, so you can sneak up on them.
Sure.
So I was like, who are they making all these shoes for? You know, like if I went to Ireland today, heard a leprechaun making shoes, who are the shoes for? Did this ever come across your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that they could be making it for anybody, but from that little tale I heard, they're making shoes for themselves. They're dancing the night away and doing a jig so much they have to repair their own shoes.
Like all the time, like they're just crushing through shoes.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like that would be necessary to be cobbling every day for that. I guess you could sell shoes to other fairies. I'm not sure.
Well. That's what I thought. That's what I heard too. Is that since they are in the fairy category, there's other fairies that need shoes too.
That makes sense.
Where are they getting their shoes? We have the answer. The fairy cobbler is the leprechaun. They're not just making shoes for themselves. So I thought that was very important. Because I'm like, wow, how come I haven't had to see? Like, I've got a Donegal tweed hat on, and I know that the leprechauns didn't make this hat, but how come I can't find leprechaun shoes? It's because they're
Right.
made just for fairies,
Not for people, just for
not for
fairies then.
people. Yep.
Oh yeah, because I would pay a premium for shoes made by a leprechaun instead of a regular cobbler. I think you would too.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, a well-made pair of shoes is such nothing better.
By a
To get it from the
leprechaun.
absolute shoe master. I mean, imagine an elf that actually has like a really specialized trade, not just making things.
Yeah.
One thing, you know, it's going to be good, high quality.
Yeah, exactly right. But from what I know about leprechauns, I don't think I'd want to buy anything from them because they are tricksters and they are cunning little clever little guys.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know if I'd
shoe.
trust their shoes, especially when they make them from fairies. I wouldn't want to wear the shoes they made from me. But yeah, like we said, they're solitary creatures, and one of the biggest aspects of a leprechaun, of course, we haven't mentioned yet, got that pot of gold. That's the treasure that they have. They have that pot of gold that if you could just get it, you could be a wealthy man. Um, but easier said than done since they are the tricksters by nature, much on the same degree of all other kind of mythologies from across the world. They always have that trickster, where there's Loki in Norse mythology, there's Pan in Greek mythology, and there's all kinds of tricksters in Japan, Chinese mythology. It's that little trickster idea. There's these spirits that they're not necessarily out for evil to cause suffering, but they're not out for good either. They're not trying to help you all the time. They just
Mm-hmm.
are out for their own. And if you come across a leprechaun, you better be careful because they can trick you, and they will.
Yep. Yeah, one of those things where if you think about walking to grandma's house through through the forest, what
Over
type
the
of
river and through the
creatures?
woods.
Yeah, over the river and through the woods. Exactly. These are the type of things you come across. You come across a trickster. You come across someone who's trying to help you. Come across someone who's trying to hurt you.
Perhaps a big bad wolf who wants to eat
Perhaps a
you.
big bad wolf.
She was a fishmonger, but wished it no longer. She worked like her mother and father before. She'd roll that wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive,
Voice around,
oh.
lads.
Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh.
I found a couple of cool stories. And the first time, I don't have much details on the story, but the first time leprechauns were ever mentioned in text was in 1604. Did you come across this crazy story?
Yeah, I had this on here. It comes from the
No, I can't
comedy
hear anything.
called The Honest Whore.
Okay, the honest whore. I got the new whore.
Oh, the new whore. Oh, we got two. Maybe it must be the same book though. 1604. I have the same.
I
date
can't
on it.
imagine they would. In 1604 was the new whore. 1605 was the honest whore.
No,
Let's get this straight.
But yeah, I would have thought that leprechauns went back further than that. I was surprised to find that they're relatively modern. I mean, fairies go back thousands of years. People learning about. I mean, at the time when
Right.
leprechauns are being written about, I mean, the tales could go back further than that before the text ever was written down. But I mean,
Mhm.
Ireland was full on Christian at that point and under the thumb of the British. It was way after all of the druidism and fairies and all that. It's interesting that leprechauns
Yeah.
came around so late in the game. I would have thought they would be as old as fairies.
I hear in that, but maybe do you think it was because it was a fable and these are things that were just passed down verbally and there was less written note of it, especially because the church is involved at one
Yeah,
point?
I think so. Yeah, it probably wasn't written down for later than that. I don't think it was passed on for 1600 years and then written down for the first time. But I definitely think that it was
True.
probably passed around as an idea well before it was ever written.
Yeah, definitely. And that comes down to the Tohei Danin. Tohei Danin. It's spelled way differently. And that means tribe of the gods. It's a pagan type of thing. So this is also another origin story before we get into more modern day ones like 1604, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a race of gods who landed on the shore, shrouded in mist. They made Ireland their home. And with that, there was someone named it sounds like Luke, but it's spelled very differently.
Mhm.
And he was a high king, and he was also a trickster. So that's where the story comes about.
I see.
And this isn't the horror story, but it's like a parallel story. But this goes back a lot early. It's a story about something that happened a lot earlier.
Mhm.
But yeah, Luke was a high king and a trickster.
and he was doing his thing. I think he was well respected. The people liked him. He built a nice community with Ireland. It's not like they were from Ireland. They came to Ireland and kind of like not invaded, but made it their home with whoever else lived there.
Yeah.
And then the Milesians attacked, and I have no idea who Milesians are. Do you know who they are?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with this word.
I don't know either. But anyways, the Milesians attacked. This war lasted for years, and then basically the Milesians won, and they banished the Tohei Danin to the Shea Mountains. So you kind of might see where this is going. Yeah. So again, this precedes anything we're going to talk about next. But so now all of a sudden, you've got a guy who's a trickster, and him and his people are being banished to the mountains. So it's all starting to come together a little bit, I think. So that's when they mountain people went in their caves, changed size a little bit, and the little people of Ireland were born. So there's little people who were tricksters and not very nice, who lived in caves and hated people because they lost the war.
Oh, then you get those hermits that we're talking about.
Yeah, we got them, and then I think the whore happened. Would be the next story that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any good information about the old whore, the new whore, the real
honest
whore?
Whore is what I have here.
The honest whore. Yeah. Do you mind sharing what you have about the honest whore?
Didn't look into it whatsoever. Not at all. I was like, okay, got it. That's where it's located. I mean, the thrust of my research about leprechauns is mostly by finding out that is the oldest version of it. And I'm sure we're going to get into it after we re-roll on through the past of it. But I really didn't look into things any later than what you just said right now, is that leprechauns are a new creation. They very well might be part of folklore for years and years, but I mean, they're mostly a very new thing. The ideas of fairies and spirits in the forest are thousands of years old, and leprechauns just aren't. They're a modern thing, relatively. So no, I don't have anything on the honest story. That was the oldest thing I found about them.
Yeah, so I've got one more too. Did you learn about the Ferguson, the son of Letty, Fergus MacLetty?
No.
Oh, this is a good one. You're gonna like this.
Yeah. All right.
So while we're here, so this is real good. So this actually was about, or wow, I'm predating myself. So they said the 8th century. So that's what, the 700s?
Yep.
All right, I should have said this first, but I thought the other one was older because it just sounds older.
Well, it wouldn't be the Dylan and Joe Basement podcast if you didn't flip your dates in the middle of you telling a story. So it's on brand.
That's true. We're working on that.
It's not a problem.
I'm working on that.
Well, we always put the numbers.
It made sense, but anyways,
people can keep track of it. So this is the 8th century.
All right, let's say 8th century Ireland. It was called Fergus MacLetty, which is I wrote The Adventures of Fergus, son of Letty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Ferguson. That's where that comes from.
Pretty much what we're talking about here. Ferguson, you think so?
Well, not
the name
from
Ferguson?
The story, but the name Ferguson obviously comes from the son of Fergus, son. Ferguson.
Wow. Yeah, my brain does not put things together. Like
I didn't think I was going to go out of left field there. Yeah, like Johnson.
No, I'm in left field. Yeah, son of John.
Ferguson.
So you shit me? Wait.
Turd Ferguson.
Like this isn't. I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be funny at all. But Johnson. Never in a million years would I have thought that was son of John.
Holy shit!
Never.
I just thought that was taken for granted that everyone knew that. So that when I said that, I didn't think I was being wild. Yeah, no, all those last names come from son of John, son of Ferguson, Johnson.
Nope. Never would have thought that, but now my life has been changed drastically. Never can I see that.
Well, yeah, it's that O that they dropped from Ireland. They still had the son in. O Ferguson.
Yeah, what makes sense to me is if your last name is Baker, and
then you were a baker.
That means that you're probably a baker or a shoemaker.
Your ancestors were, yeah. But you're a baker, the candlestick maker. Miller.
Yes, exactly. Miller. Yep. You brew beer.
Smith.
Get it.
You were a blacksmith, a smithy.
You made
metals.
Yeah.
Smith.
Makes sense to me.
Hunter.
So anyway, so we've got.
We can do this all day.
I got time. Hunter. Long.
What would that be?
Means you're just long.
You're just long. That could be. You're a long person.
Just like
small. You're
long
small.
person.
They can
Yeah,
call you
yeah.
small. I can't think of any other
I don't know.
profession ones.
Can't think of anything good.
Green, brown, black.
Yep,
all
those are good.
colors.
I get it. Yep, I totally get it. Man, I wish I had some good ones. Like, that's all I got. Can't think of any other last names in the whole world right now. I literally can't do it.
All the ones I can think of, they don't have the son or the profession. But yeah. But anyways, Fergus.
Yeah.
Fergus'
So
son.
anyway,
Fergus.
so yeah, Fergus, son of Letty, Fergus Mac Letty, was written in the 700s, and this is a story about King Fergus, who he's from Ireland, and he was a warrior king, won some wars, and then he just called it a day. He said, "All right, cut off all these heads of people, went out and did my thing, and now I want to chill. Just wanted to relax." So
Take a load off. Hang
so
up the axe.
take a load off, just chill, go to the beach. That's what he said to himself.
Those nice Irish
to the
beaches
beach.
that they're always talking about. Glorious.
Exactly. A
Take
nice
off your
sunny,
sandals and freeze your
warm-
ass off at an Irish beach. I
Yep.
can't think of a worse place to go
You know what?
beaching than Ireland, really. I guess
People were different back then, and nothing like a fucking pale, redheaded, paper
Mhm.
white Irish guy chilling on an Irish beach.
love it.
The dream,
Love it.
they say. You know,
Yeah. It's just
especially
the
if you're a
dream.
king, this is where you're gonna go.
Oh,
Yeah, you can see the beach right behind you there, right, Joe?
You have to
Where's
look
the beach?
beyond the mountains there, but yeah. I almost put up the cliffs of
So
Moher,
he's back there.
but I wanted to put the countryside. It looked more leprechaun.
It's a good one.
But the cliffs of
Yeah,
Moher, I was like, there's no
Countryside's
beach
reminds
there, just a multi-100-foot drop right into the sea.
Yeah, the beach.
That is a beach.
Is that the beach? Is that the beach we're talking about here?
Where the ocean meets the
It's
land. The
relaxing.
beach.
Don't get too close to the edge beach. Yeah, one of those ones.
Yeah,
So
one of those,
on the grass,
enter at your own risk.
grassy
beaches.
beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's no nude beaches
So-
in Ireland. You'd be surprised to know. It's more of a mainland Europe idea.
So
Fergus,
Fergus Mac Letty,
he's chilling on the
Adventure
beach,
of Fergus,
those beautiful
son of
Irish
Letty.
beaches.
it's the 700s. He's on the beautiful Irish beaches. He's a fucking hero. He just came back from war, killed all these people. He
Mhm.
wants to chill, so he takes his slave girl to the beach. What a great day, you know?
Nice day. Get some lemonade. You know, get an umbrella, and you and your slave girl have
Yep.
a nice night out on the beach. Sounds great.
Yep. Yeah. Great day, right? Yeah. Classic times of the 700s. So,
Mhm.
so he's hanging on the beach, just enjoying the nice weather, and you see behind you, and he wakes up because he's being dragged into the ocean by three magic dwarfs.
Oh no.
These are small redheaded dwarfs that are dragging him by the feet into the ocean. So he, not sure if he's just wasted on Guinness or what his fucking deal is, but he, how it takes you to get to the water to before you realize you're getting dragged in the ocean hasn't happened to me before. So
Mm.
he wakes up and he catches all three of them real quickly, which is the whole thing with these guys, is that's very hard to do. You know, I'm
Very
going to get them in
difficult
the
to
middle of
catch
a
them.
task.
Yes.
Yep. They got to be in the middle of a task they're good at. That's kind of their thing. So he gets them all, and then he asks for a wish. And his wish was to breathe underwater. Not sure why that's the case, but he wanted to breathe underwater. And they said, sure, that's fine. We'll grant you this wish. You can breathe underwater. You just can't go to this certain bay. I forget the name of the bay, but you can't go to the bay. And he says, all right, deal. So after they make the deal, the leprechaun starts sucking on his tits. And I'm not kidding. Just start.
Really?
Yeah. No, this isn't funny.
No,
This is
I
the
mean,
story.
I did hear stories of leprechauns that they can breathe underwater, which I'd never heard about leprechauns before. But that seems to be coming from this tale, maybe that leprechauns can, live underwater as well as they can above land.
Yeah,
I never
that
heard
could be.
leprechauns could breathe underwater until I did the
I
research.
never
for the
heard that.
podcast, and I was like, yeah. I mean, I saw paintings people did of leprechauns underwater. They didn't look like with the buckles and the green coat and everything like that. They looked like an Irish warrior with a large beard, and it was next to a fish. They were the same size as the fish. They were just underwater hanging out. Maybe this comes from this tale of Fergus.
That's so weird. Yeah, no, I never heard of that one. Did you ever hear of them sucking on men's nipples?
That I certainly haven't heard. That's new to me.
So,
What do they get out of it?
same. Weirdly enough, I never heard of them swimming underwater, but I have, as of now, heard of them sucking on men's nipples. And the thing is, in the story, they already made a deal. He said, "I want to breathe underwater," and then the leprechaun said, "All right, that's cool. I'll grant you that wish. You just can't go to this bay, like another beach type of area, like a harbor. Don't go to that."
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, sounds good." And then the leprechaun just latches on, and he's kind of confused. And
I'm confused.
and he asked Leprechaun, hey, why are you sucking on my tits? And the leprechaun said, "Oh, this is how my people ask for pity." And that's why that happened. So anyways,
Wow.
so
they weren't actually trying to get any sustenance from him. They just were trying to prostrate themselves before him and ask for pity.
Yep, this is just something we do. So that's why I'm doing it. So what does the guy do after that? He waits a little bit, goes to the bay.
Story wouldn't be complete if he doesn't go to the bay he's not supposed to go to, obviously. He goes there, right? As soon as you hear it, you're not supposed to go there, you go, this guy's going to go there pretty soon, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Goes to the bay. First thing he does, just leaves his chick on the beach, goes to the bay.
I thought you said I should go to the bay because I did it immediately. And the girl's still on the beach.
Yeah, literally the first thing I did is take you off my tits, and I went to the bay. So goes to the bay, and what does he find? He finds a sea monster. Ooh. So that's probably why he wasn't supposed to go to the bay. So being the great warrior, son of Fergus, what does he do?
He can breathe underwater now, so that should make that fight a lot easier than it would be normally.
Crazy. Yep. So
normally it'd be nearly impossible.
Yeah, you got to think.
I mean, fighting a dragon's hard enough, and you can breathe air the whole time. Fighting a sea monster, you can't breathe water. You're fucked. But he can.
Yeah, don't go fight a shark in the water. Don't go fight a sea monster in its own fucking habitat. No, you're not from that habitat. It's not going to be good for you.
You want home field.
No, he can breathe in the water, and he's got weapons. Yeah, you do. He's got weapons, and they've got home field advantage, but how he can swim underwater and has technology, so it's not bad. So it looks like the Loch Ness Monster, which is tying us back into episode 14.
Shit. No kidding.
Yeah, the pictures I saw look a lot like that. So he found what looks to be one of those, as mentioned, there were many different stories of separate accounts throughout history of different Loch Ness type monsters that are found across Scotland, which is close enough.
There'd be monsters
that aren't just in the Loch Ness and other lochs. So we got a similar crossover here, similar times and dates. No, similar times and dates. Island. Another one. Yeah, so we got another situation where the Loch Ness Monster type of thing is coming back into play.
Wow.
And what does he do? He killed the monster. As expected, bloody water mess, long fight, big battle, killed the monster, took the head back to his hometown, and then died. And that's the story.
Wow. He only had to use his underwater breathing ability for one fight, but what a glorious fight it was. And he won.
Yeah, and he won. And that's another story about leprechauns.
That seems to be the oldest one I've heard then in that case. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely 3 dwarfs in the water that grant you a wish. I mean, that's Leprechaun if I ever heard one. And like you said, it's well before it's written down, but the tale is being told.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly. So
to
where's that leave us?
To piggyback on that, yeah, I think that it's the other interesting thing that we both found out. I think, like I said before, and I'll say it a million times in the podcast. Me and Dylan know the topic, but we don't confer with each other before the episode because we want to, surprise each other and bounce off each other. So we don't really know what we looked up. We
Yeah.
just kind of find out during the podcast.
Mhm.
That's why it's kind of funny when we guess shit that each other says. But the oldest descriptions of a leprechaun actually doesn't look anything like me right now, right? That I had no idea about this. The oldest
Right.
descriptions has them
Yeah.
all clad in red with a red jacket with 7 buttons
Mhm.
and usually wearing a 3-cornered hat,
Mhm.
not a top hat with a buckle on it, which everyone pictures now. I'm thinking cobbler. I'm thinking the shoes with the buckles, the hat with the buckles, and all dressed in green, Irish green. But the oldest stories of leprechauns, no green there at all, and not even a hat. The 3-cornered hat in red. It looks like a British soldier or something. Very strange. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was, and I learned that too. I never would have known. And now for our next St. Patrick's Day party next year, I might just be wearing red. I already have some red stuff.
Really
but
you're like a true fan, deep cut. You're like, yeah, I know about real leprechauns.
Yeah, only the people who know, and then we can give each other a nice head nod, cheers up the beers, and be like, yeah,
go,
we
why are you
know
wearing
what's
red?
up.
You go, okay, this guy knows.
Yeah, I see. You don't know. Did you watch the Dylan Joe Basin podcast, episode 17?
Yeah, obviously
Give
not.
it a shot, because
Educate
that's why we're
yourself.
here.
That's right.
Yep.
Educate
Let you guys know
yourself.
what's up. And specifically, you can choose one of 4 different types of leprechauns that you think you are, because the story differed depending on where in Ireland you were. Did you see that?
No, please fill me in.
Yeah, so depending on who you talk to, but according to William Butler Heaths, he said they were red. And red specifically means a solitary person, whereas green,
now that tracks for leprechauns.
someone who likes groups of people. Green in Ireland is groups. Red is a solo straight shooter.
So if you were writing a book about leprechauns, I would dress them in red. In that case, that makes more sense.
Yep, exactly. But doesn't fit the. We'll get into it later. But what's evolved of leprechauns? So he this guy, another guy. So his name was David Russell. You didn't see this?
No. Tell me.
I don't know where. I don't know what's up with this, but his name is. Sorry. His name. Can you hear any noise behind me? So
Russell.
This is why it's so funny. So there's one guy named David. This guy describes 4 variations of leprechauns. His name is David.
It's categorizing the mythology.
Yeah, his name is 4 variations of leprechaun. His name is David Russell McAnally. MC Anal Ly.
Oh,
it's not McNally.
Now I finally know what you're laughing about the whole time. Well, yeah, you pronounce it McAnally, right? You wouldn't pronounce it McAnally. That's the funny way to do it. But if you read it,
sorry, I don't know. It's just
if you read it as an Irish person,
there's no Mac. It's just Mick.
I know, but you still would pronounce it McAnally. But we all know what it really says, which is McAnally. How would you like your Happy Meal delivered? I'll tell you how. McAnally.
So, all right. So McAnally, but we're gonna go with David Russell McAnally.
Stay McAnally. It's much funnier. I was saying there are people in America with that exact same spelling right now, and they always have to say, "No, it's McAnally." It's, is it? Is it?
It's really it's great.
Yeah, like that girl. My name's not Shithead. It's Shatid. Okay, sure it is. It's spelled Shithead.
Yeah. Yes, I see that. Yeah. Or what's another funny one I got too? There's like
there's a million.
There's another name I can't remember.
They pronounce them in the French way and stuff.
Oh, dude,
so stupid.
So funny. I mean, like anytime you have a customer database, you come across hilarious stuff all the time. And it's so funny. So anyways, David Russell McAnally describes 4 variations of leprechauns depending on where you are, and they're a little bit different, but they do have things in common. There's the Logarrymen, and they wear a red coat, white pants, and those are found in Northern Ireland.
Okay, yeah.
So it looks just like you, just red. And then there's the Lurigadon. I'm just going Italian now. I don't know. There's like a Lurigadon.
It's not easy.
Lurigadon.
All the Irish words, you can't even
God,
pronounce
is it
them like
hard?
English. It's a weird word.
No, because you got to like talk like this. Like your paces have to be like all sorts of up and
yeah.
down.
The intonation is like
And,
a big part of it. Like McAnally or McAnally.
Like, yeah, exactly.
It's the same spelling, but you just pronounce it way different.
So this guy, the number 2, the Lurigadon, had a red jacket and looked very similar to the Logarryman, but he had a jockey sword, whatever the jockey sword is, and that was really kind of a wand type of thing.
Okay, like a magic wand kind of deal, like a fairy more,
yeah,
or pixie.
Yeah, exactly. And they get more fun as we go along. So those are the 2 like standard edition.
They keep getting more fun as we go.
Yeah. According to McAnally, they just get better and better. So
that's great. I like
those are 2 like standard.
In the right order. Then you don't want to start with the most fun and get more boring. You want to start with the lower grammar or whatever.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So they. So the next one is. They all are about the same, except this one's fat. He's a fat, red-faced, red coat, 7-button guy.
7 buttons, yeah.
7 buttons. So you said 7 buttons, so we got that.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, we have the Cluricon, which is like all the rest of them, except he's always got beer.
Well, I would harken a guess that a combination of number 4, number 3 sounds like the most Irish leprechaun-y way to me. I mean, he's got to be fat and have a red face, and he's got to always have beer on him. The other 2 seem a little boring. I mean, the magic wand thing is a nice little touch, but I'd imagine that if I was going to find a leprechaun, I'd more likely find him with a beer in his hand than a pixie wand. Who knows?
Yeah, I would think so too.
I mean, it's very Irish way to be.
So what we've got here is they all wear these red coats.
Mm-hmm. Not a green.
They all look like. No, not a green one. The things in common is the red coat. They all make or mend shoes.
That is the common theme.
The cobbler. Yeah, red coat, men's shoes. They all seem to be like hermits, solitary type of people. And again, there's just so many different myths. It's pretty hard to go about this, but I've got some other facts before we move on about them. Like one story is that one of them was he was this guy, his parents or something were trying to marry him off or whatever it was. And he was decided to exile himself and be a bachelor who doesn't want to conform to modern society. That's a fun one.
Another Irish thing to do.
Exactly. They all seem to go back into a cave, a rabbit hole, hauled out tree trunks, the
tree
crazy
trunks
entrance
and the rabbit hole. They all seem to be the places where the leprechauns would live. Part of nature.
Yeah, and they do this. Yep, exactly, and they do that because they hate you.
Yes.
It's way harder to find them, and they will attack you right away or haunt you for a long time and torture you.
Haunting.
Like specifically, eventually at a point, if shit really gets fucked up and they don't just attack you right away, they'll kidnap your baby and replace it with a changeling, which is fucking terrifying.
Oh, that's freaky. I didn't know that part of them. So a changeling is a mythical monster that can transform its appearance to match anything. So it could look like, your baby, or it could look like you, or it could look like a wolf or something like that. It's the idea of this mythical creature that can, change its appearance, but it's not really a human or an animal. It's like it's a monster, a changeling.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up and terrifying. And that's something that they say that they do. And I wonder what story they're trying to teach parents.
Yeah, I don't know. Something that means you harm. That's always the scariest thing to me. I used to have, dreams when you're a kid when, someone would talk to you and they'd be someone but they're not really them. And this is actually ties into the Irish thing perfectly. So now this is going to ruin it for if my mom actually does turn into a changeling, the changeling's going to know the secret. But when I was a kid, I used to have a password with my mom, and I go, let's have a password that way in case someone looks like you, but they're not you, I'll know it's you because I have a password. And the password was Tura Lura Lura, which is an old Irish folk song. And I would say that password and she'd say it back and I go, okay, you are my mom. You're not like a a monster's trying to act like her or like a transformer or whatever. And she still remembers that. She's gonna love to hear this shit. She still remembers that passcode now, and luckily, so she hasn't changed yet. I haven't been replaced with a changeling, but I thought that was funny that it always ties in. That I was worried about that as a kid, and we used an old Irish song to make sure we're all on the same page here.
I think you got to start the podcast off with that one because that is good info. That is high quality stuff that we all want to know. That is the stuff that we all. That's why we listen to this stuff.
I had no idea the changeling part, but I was legitimately worried that I was going to look at my mom's face and be like, "You're an imposter," like, "Where's my mom?" kind of deal, which is insane. But kid thoughts.
Possible. I get it. No, that's scary. I mean, I get it. I totally do.
Luckily, she never forgot it, so I never got worried that she was, replaced with a changeling.
She ever tease you at all? Tell you the wrong password?
Yeah, I know.
Just to watch what you do.
Yeah, I know. The thing is, she would tease me plenty of times, but she knew when I asked that, it was like, you got to say it right because I won't trust you again all day and maybe all week.
Oh,
so
yeah,
she knew when it was time to say that, she was like, it's not time to joke. It's time to like be like, okay, that's the thing. And I remember it. So she never fucked with me, luckily, because
I'd have a hard time torturing my kid with that one.
Yeah, that would have got me good. She could have really got me good with that.
You're just playing GameCube in your room, and you're like, I cannot believe that this isn't even like this person's in my house.
I probably would have ran out of the house. She had to go chase.
Why is this person in my house?
Yeah, I would have
pull a Home Alone scream. That
would have been me. Yeah, no. I mean, my family was really good at teasing me, but my mom was more than happy to make me feel like a secure, sweet little boy, and be like, she wouldn't do that to me. Like, she's a darling.
Yeah,
but that would have been a
tough one though. I can't say that would have fucked her. I give her a lot of credit because it would be very easy to have a real big laugh for a long time.
Oh yeah, it would have been great. I mean, any of my uncles, they would have. If they ever knew that, they would have fucking pulled that thing off.
Yep, forget about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a thing forever. Yep. That's so scary.
Now I guess some of them will know about it from the podcast, so they can fuck with me now. But I'm too old to worry about it now. But yeah, so the changeling. Sorry, we're going to change it there. So yeah, replace your baby with
that's something they could do. Pretty fucked up. And the last thing is the pots of golds that they have as sort of.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on it so briefly.
Yeah, what do you got?
It's so ubiquitous with leprechauns, but the biggest
thing, important.
But the pot of gold. I heard different versions of the story, and like many of these old myths, it comes out different ways, but I've heard versions where you catch them, they give you 3 wishes. Kind of sounds like a genie from the Middle East, something like that. I've heard versions where they have to tell you where their gold is, and then you can be rich from the pot of gold. Strangely enough, usually when they depict a pot of gold, it's I guess you could call it a pot, but it's usually like a cauldron, like a big black cauldron.
Yeah, cast iron cauldron.
Yeah. I wouldn't really call it a pot more than a cauldron, but they call it the pot of gold. But yeah, that's one of the ones that is most prevalent, is that if you catch a leprechaun, which is very hard to catch because they're very tricky and they're elusive and they're tiny and they know how to get away from you. And like you said, usually if you don't hear the sound of them working on shoes, it's hard to find them in the first place because they don't want to be found. They want to be solitary creatures. So if you can find one and catch them, you can force them to do what you want because they can't get away. So you can force them to tell you where their gold is. But here's the thing about leprechauns. Like I said, they're very tricky, they're crafty, and those wishes that you want granted, or the pot of gold that you want, it kind of turns into a monkey's paw situation where the wish that you're getting is more of a curse than a blessing, where they can twist your words and kind of spin things up. There's that old story of the monkey's paw where the guy finds the mummified monkey paw, and every time you make a wish, one of the fingers goes down, but all the wishes backfire on you the more that you take it. I mean, we've seen this story played over 100 times in cartoons and movies and all that, but that is basically the idea of the leprechauns, is that if you do catch them, you can't get the better of them because they're going to do all they can to twist your words and fuck you over. And so that reminded me of one of the my favorite leprechaun stories. Also, the pot of gold being at the end of the rainbow. There's a lot of things, the leprechauns, that kind of takes away from the hiding the gold. If it's just at the end of the rainbow, they're not hiding it at all. You just go to the end of the rainbow. But the trick really is you can't find the end of the rainbow. There is no end of the rainbow. It's an optical illusion. So there is no end of it. There's actually a great video on YouTube of people driving in a car and the girl is filming the rainbow. And they're like, oh my God, we're about to come to the end of the rainbow. Oh my God, here we are. We're finally here. we're almost there. We're almost at the end. And it goes for like 5 minutes, and she keeps thinking they're going to get to the end of the rainbow, not realizing it's not. If you can see the rainbow, you can't see the end because it doesn't move. It just stays right there. In her defense, it did look like the closest I've ever seen anyone get to the end of a rainbow. Like it was almost to the ground, but unfortunately for her, they never got there. There is no end of the rainbow. It's a really awesome thing that happens with light refracting with rain and moisture, but there's no end to it because it's completely an optical thing. There's not a solid object.
It's one of those things that you think about all the time, like as a kid, even as an adult, like you just like you're there and you look up at it and it like does the whole thing. You're like, we're actually here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you could get to the end of it because from any given point, you can see like where the size of it and how big it is. But it's the same thing as holding your finger in front of your face and then walking and hoping you get to the end of your finger. You're never going to get there. It's a perspective in your mind where it's only 1 foot away, but as long as you keep walking, it's the same thing. That's what a rainbow is, as far as that goes. So rainbows are a lot of fun, and they don't have an end to them. But what I was going to say is that my favorite story about leprechauns is, there's 100 stories about people catching them or not catching them and things like that, and no one ever seems to get that pot of gold. And this particular guy is walking out in the woods and he finds a leprechaun, and he goes after him and he catches him unaware. And he picks him up and he looks at him and he demands, he goes, you have to tell me where the pot of gold is because I caught you. Them's the rules kind of thing. And the leprechaun's like, oh, you son of a mother. Yeah, them's the rules. I'll tell you where my pot of gold is. And that's fine. And the thing about the leprechaun is once you catch them, they have to do what you say. That's like the rules of leprechauns. So they're hard to catch, but if you ever do catch them, they have to do what you say. But they use that leprechaun trickery. So the guy goes, where's the pot of gold? And he leads him to the tree and he goes, it's hidden under this tree here. You guys have to dig it up. And the guy goes, all right, well, I'm going to go back and get my shovel so I can dig up the gold. But I'm smarter than you, leprechaun. You think you're going to trick me. I'm going to tie a red string around this tree. And that way, when I come back into the woods, I'll be able to find the tree. I'll know this one to dig behind. And guess what? I know what you're thinking. As soon as I walk away, you're just going to untie the string. But here's the rules. You can't untie the string from this tree. That's the rules. And Leprechaun goes, all right, you're the boss. Okay. He puts the Leprechaun down. He goes back to his house. He grabs a shovel, goes back into the woods, only to find every single tree in the woods now has red string around it.
That's such a great story. It's a great.
He didn't untie the string.
No, he didn't.
And he did tell him where the gold was, but unfortunately, the story ends with the guy digging up holes and driving himself crazy and never finds the pot of gold.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. And on top of that too is their number one goal is, besides tricking you, is to get away. So don't turn your back.
Go back to being alone.
Yeah, just they want to get out of your hands. They want to whatever it is. So if you turn your back on them, like in the South Park episode,
you can't turn your back on them. They'll be going. Look at you split.
Can't do it. Yep.
And that's
just
the thing.
like
the guy knew all the rules.
He
knew all the things about leprechauns, but he couldn't foresee that even if you think you got it all figured out and you got him in your clutches, as soon as you let him go, you're fucked.
Yeah, you should have asked for like a giant spotlight at that tree. Only.
Well, you'll see. There's always all different versions of it what you would have done, but I can't think of anything I would do that it wouldn't turn on you. The giant spotlight on the tree. All right. Now it's daytime. You can't see the spotlight. You can't find out what tree it is. There's always a tricky way around it.
Yeah. What if you painted that tree green and every other tree red?
That would be good, but it would take more time.
That's a pretty good one.
It would take more time than getting the shovel and just digging up the gold.
No. You tell him to do it because he had time to tie a red string on every other tree.
Yeah, but I don't think
if he had time to tie a string.
It's like magic, It's like they can do magic on you. I would think the best way. This is interesting to me because I think I was going to bring this up to you, how you would deal with leprechaun. Because I think the best way is to employ them with, like, if you make that part of them having skin in the game with you, where you're like, you're going to help me dig it up. Or something like that. Like, we're going to both do it. Because as soon as you go, all right, I'm going to do it alone. As soon as you let them go, like you said, they're gone. So you have to be like, you have to tell me where the gold is and you're going to help me dig it up. And then I'm going to split it with you or something like that. Well, you have to have them involved because I feel like any way you're trying to get the best of them, they fuck you over. And if there's a way where you kind of like make them, if they fuck you over, they're fucking themselves over. You have to like tie themselves to you in some kind of way. That's the best thing I can come up with is like making them fuck themselves over with you rather than just separating yourself. But I couldn't think of a good way to do it. That's just the best I come up with.
Yeah, no, I think that's the only way to do it is to be like, all right, we're gonna do this together, and you're
Yeah.
gonna grant me a wish of a shovel.
Yeah, we're in this
Yeah,
together.
that's what we're
buddy.
gonna do. Yep,
Yeah, because
Yep.
you can screw me over, you can screw yourself over. That's all you can do.
yep,
I
yep.
don't know. But yeah,
Totally.
I mean, do you have anything else about the mythical past of leprechauns before we go into why they shed those red coats and started putting on the attire? that I'm
Yeah,
wearing
the
today?
modern. Woo! Look at that. No, David Russell McAnally is all done in my book. So
She died of a fever and no one could save her, and that's what became of sweet Molly Malone.
My poor
Where
Molly.
ghost wheels that barrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh.
like the consistent messaging that I got throughout all the fables and stories about leprechauns is the constant is change, and that's what I'm seeing with these guys. Is that the story has evolved over time, and they eventually turned green and had this. And I think a big part of, and then they started drinking beer, and all of a sudden there's little angry redheaded guys drinking beer all the time.
Yeah.
See above? Oh, we can't see above. See when Joe talks, they look like that drinking beer. Jewel. 2021 one's got a jewel in his hand. That's kind of what I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, the old one have a
However,
corncob pipe, but
the one,
the modern leprechaun.
oh
would
yeah,
have- would
dude,
have a
corncob
jewel.
pipes were those. Man,
Well, it
corncob
wouldn't be
pipes were good. I
corncob
know
if
you
did
know
not
what
have
I'm talking
corn in
about.
Ireland. But yeah, smoking a corncob pipe.
With
is
that
great.
potato pipes,
Yeah, have you a
Yeah.
potato cob pipe?
Potato cob pipe. But one important thing that came up, and I don't have the actual reference to the book itself, but in the early 1900s, when xenophobia means racism, right?
Yeah, it's afraid of other races. Yeah.
AKA racism.
Yeah.
Got it. So in the early 1900s, that was a big problem for the Irish people, Irish immigrants in the United States. So I think in like somewhere around 1905, someone wrote a book about leprechauns
Yeah.
to try to help the rest of the United States feel more comfortable with Irish immigrants. And the leprechaun was a big
That's
part
great.
of that.
It's like,
And
don't
I'm
worry
not
about
kidding.
us. If
There's
you
no
catch
shit.
us, we'll give
Like,
you gold, but don't be so mad at Irish people. Yeah,
yeah, like letting people know that there's culture. They have culture. They have other stuff.
Yeah.
They have cool stories. Leprechauns were a part of that to try to like help Irish people fit in and settle in better in places like New York.
For sure. I mean,
the rest of the
famously
world.
now, I mean,
Rest of the country.
Irish people, like we said, there's more Irish people in America than there are in Ireland, from genetically. But it's just because like anytime a new culture immigrates to any country, I would think, but especially in America in the past, it's like they're ostracized immediately. So there was the initial
Treated like
wave
shit.
of English and Scots were the first ones to come over there. Then when you get the German and Irish, they treated them like shit. And then you get Italians, treated them like shit. Then you get Eastern Europeans, treated them like shit. Chinese, treat them like shit. And then you start to get Hispanic cultures, treat them like shit. Like it's what happens every time. It's like it takes like a grace period of them being like, you're different than us. We're gonna shun you. And then you have to have all the shitty jobs, and we don't take you seriously. And then we spread rumors about you. And then eventually, hopefully, I feel like you'll be able to be as ubiquitous with the culture that people can't really treat you as separate. Like people don't think of Irish people the same way they picture people who are from Mexico that live in America, even though they're just as much immigrants as they are, but they've been around for 200 years now. Most of them are either, drunks or police officers. So they've definitely settled in to the environment. So now that they're respected, people can still talk shit about Irish people,
It's on their home. Yep.
with good reason. But yeah, people don't picture like Irish people as like a segregated class in America. But when they first immigrated here, that was definitely the case. The reason why most Irish people became police officers because one of the only jobs that you could get when you were Irish back then. And there's still, you can look up pictures for
Still is.
every new immigrant in America, but there still is pictures of signs that say, Irish need not apply, much like you would say colored people need not apply in the 60s or shit like that. It's fucking weird. Because you just figure Irish people now in America are just white people. So you just get to be considered white. You don't have to actually worry about the intricacies of what part of Europe you came from. But at the time, that was the idea.
Yeah. And like there's weird things like my grandmother, married my grandfather who's 100% Irish. And She's like, I married an Irishman. I'm like, what the fuck's an Irishman? Like, who says that stuff? You know, like that's like one of those like
Yeah.
sort of semi-slang terms about someone.
Yeah.
But that's just like what it was. Like you're identified as that. Like that's what it
Mhm.
was. It wasn't like, oh, he's like a I don't know, like
He's from Boston.
like oh, you're a Pole. You're yeah.
He's an Irishman.
Exactly.
He's not. I don't care where he's from Alston. He's an Irishman. His grandparents are Irishmen, and he's an Irishman,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
he looks like an Irishman. Yeah, that's.
Yep. And I'm 100% sure that I want to say 3 meals a day, but I consistently know for a fact that it was at least 1 meal a day. There was potatoes.
Mhm. I mean, potatoes is a great
He ate
food
potatoes
for
every
it's cheap and it has a lot of
goddamn
calories,
day.
so that's good for surviving food.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and also
Worked
Irish,
out fine for him.
you know, it's more of like an idea of the culture of its own, but famous for being good storytellers, and leprechauns are just another one of those tales that Irish culture is telling.
Yeah, and helping us, our ancestors fit in a little better for some reason.
Get in where you fit.
So that's the story of that so far. So where are we at, Joe? Where do you want to take this? You want to take this to
Yeah, so I was going to
special
take it
holiday
with
that's coming out soon?
tie us in with our holiday that this podcast is dropping for, which is St. Patrick's Day, one of my favorite holidays, of course. That's why I have this whole costume for Leprechaun for that very day. And it seems to
Always
me
a great day. Joe, you want to tell us a story about that too? At one point?
about St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, just some of the good stories you got from that about like wearing that at the restaurant, all sorts of cool shit. I don't want to interrupt you, but I think that's a great story.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the reason why I have this is Jesus Christ with the pop-ups. Sorry, computer. The reason why I have this costume is that I was working at the 99 restaurants, and I talked to my manager at the time. It's one of the new managers. He was like the cool guy, young manager kind of deal. And I was talking to him about St. Patrick's Day. I was gonna have to work that day, and most people have to work that day if you work at a restaurant because it's one of the busiest bar days of the year, and you can make a lot of money. Even though I've always been of the ilk that I rather have the holiday off and just celebrate it rather than I can make $50 extra. Like, yeah, 50 extra bucks is nothing compared to having St. Patrick's Day off. But luckily, when you work for the
Blowing
99,
180 on beer with your friends, yeah.
yeah, dude, exactly.
No,
How do I make
for
the
real
money?
though, that's a better.
Yeah, I make
don't have all the
money for
time
the
on
day
earth
like
here,
this
that's-
where I can
yeah.
spend it, right? I don't need it.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me when people want to cram on New Year's Eve or when it's like, yeah, okay, cool. It sucks. Wouldn't you rather be celebrating it than making an extra couple bucks that day? You can make that any week. Anyways, so I told him like I would buy a leprechaun outfit and I could dress up like a leprechaun because I already have the red hair and I'm basically most of the way to a leprechaun already. You know, solitary, red beard, alcoholism, you know, all the hits. I'm pretty short. I'm 5'8". So I'm not much of a cobbler, but I can work some leather. So yeah. So I told him I buy a dress up as a leprechaun, and he goes like if he took me seriously. He goes, if you do that, I'll give you 5 free meals. And I was like, you kidding me?
5 is no fucking joke. I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's a
and
serious
free meals
deal.
means you can pick anything from prime rib, surf and turf. You better believe I got a surf and turf for one of those. I got the steak and lobster. Of course I did. It's a free meal. Why am I getting a cheeseburger?
5 free steak and lobster meals, man.
Yeah. I should have got 5 of those to get my money worth, but I just didn't feel like eating lobster 5 days in a row. But that was it. So yeah, this costume cost me $40, probably like $6 shipping. Got the 5 free meals. I went in there that day all dressed up. He couldn't believe it, which I thought was so funny because it's a negotiation playing your hand. I was going to do it anyways, but then he told me 5 free meals and I said, done. That's why you don't play your hand too early. I was going to do it anyway. You could have got it for free.
Yeah.
But instead, he dared me to do it. And then I said, well, I'm going to do it. You have to follow through and respect to him. He did follow through on it. And yeah, I was telling Dylan, I went around the restaurant and kids were taking pictures of me and stuff. And they're like, oh, it's a real leprechaun. I had to work my shift though. I couldn't just be Mickey Mouse at Disney World. I still had to serve tables and do the whole thing, but I just happened to do it in a leprechaun costume the whole time. That's how I have this particular outfit. Yeah.
It's awesome.
But speaking of St. Patrick's Day, from what I found, the reason why leprechauns wear green now is because of St. Patrick's Day and its association with Ireland. St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, so closely associated with Ireland. In history, he's accredited for this, but I'm sure it was multiple people beyond him. I mean, Ireland's a large country, even though it is just a small island. St. Patrick is accredited with bringing Christianity to the island of Ireland, where growing up, I just bind in Christianity and Catholicism so closely with Ireland that I just figured Ireland's always been Catholic and that's just the way it is. But of course, it's Roman Catholic, which means it took a lot of time for the religion to get there. We're talking about people believing in Druidism, Celtic paganism, fairies, things like that. Those are what people were believing before Christianity stuck its lovely fingers in there and started getting involved with that, which goes along with the tale of
Evidence
St.
has
Patrick.
been found at America's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire, by the way. The Druids definitely were there.
Right on. So
As
the idea of
mentioned in
St.
most
Patrick,
podcasts.
we talked about also in the past of the podcast that St. Patrick was credited also with driving all the snakes out of Ireland, like St. George was killing all the dragons in England. One of those is much cooler than the other one, for sure. But it's mostly about him bringing Christianity. And one of the most famous things he brought Christianity to in Ireland was the idea of the Holy Trinity, which is part of Catholicism, is that there's the Father, which is God, the Son, which is Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, which is, a magical extra ghost part of it. And in Catholicism, that God is all three of those things, and God is each of those things individually. So the way the story goes that St. Patrick taught people in Ireland that is that he picked up a clover, which most of them have 3 leaves. The lucky ones have 4 because genetically it's much more likely for a clover to have 3 leaves. So he held it up and he would show the people of Ireland, see how this is one clover, right? But there's definitely 3 distinct parts of it. But you wouldn't say that it's 3 different clovers. You'd say it's one clover with 3 parts, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And him holding up that clover is a symbol of St. Patrick and bringing Christianity. And that greenness, the Emerald Isle, as they call Ireland, is associated with that clover, which is associated with St. Patrick. And that's why on St. Patrick's Day, everyone wears green. Because Ireland's colors aren't just green. I mean, they have green on the flag, but depending on where you're from, you could red could be your color. I know Dublin's colors, the capital of Ireland, their colors are blue and gold. People in Dublin don't wear green to show Irish pride. They wear Dublin colors, blue and gold. But in other countries, it's Ireland. It's green. It's all green. Look behind me. It's green everywhere. And I think that's definitely why leprechauns became associated with the color green. It's to tie it in what you said. It's Irish culture. It's the shamrocks. It's St. Patrick. And you can't have leprechauns wearing red lobster tail coats with 7 buttons and a 3-cornered hat when you have St. Patrick in his green robe holding up the 3-leaf clover there and showing people why it's green. And I think that's certainly why leprechauns are so closely tied together with St. Patrick's Day as a tradition that reaches outside of Ireland, and why green is the color and green's the getup.
It's a beautiful story.
So the earliest version of that story we actually have of St. Patrick was written down in 1726, which is some time after his death. So it's hard to say if it ever happened quite like that he used the clover to do it. We assume it is because the story is so prevalent, but we don't actually have any written record of it before 1726. Again, could be passed through word of mouth, could be in Irish or Gaelic, so it wasn't translated before then, but that's the earliest version we have. But I thought it was pretty fascinating now that St. Patrick's Day is such a ubiquitous holiday around the world that other countries celebrate it. Obviously, people in America celebrate it. Even if you're not from Irish descent, obviously the holiday came along with Irish immigrants, but people all over America celebrate Ireland. They say on St. Patrick's Day, everybody's Irish. So you get out there and get a Guinness in you and it's all set. But I was surprised to find that they celebrate it in other countries in Europe. They celebrate in Russia. They celebrate in Japan. They celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Korea.
Nice.
Yeah. So now it actually is a worldwide
Koreans love
holiday.
to drink, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it is, right? It's more that like the idea is it's fun. You dress up in a leprechaun, you go drink, and it's a fun celebration. I don't think a lot of people are going to
I love it.
Catholic mass on the feast of St. Patrick and telling their sins. They're more likely going out and having a great time, which I think that's the true Irish nature of it. Go out there, play a couple of songs, dance with your friends, tell some stories, and go home. That's the true Ireland to me, rather than the wake up at 7 a.m., get dressed up, go to mass, go home, whip yourself in the back, and hate yourself for being who you are. I don't know much what St. Patrick wanted, but I know what Ireland wants and what the Irish feeling is, and that storytelling, whimsical nature of Ireland is more go out with friends, make some memories together, and tell tales of times long past. You know, that's the spirit of St. Patrick's Day.
Get in some trouble.
Get in some trouble, of course. Makes for a good story.
Get in some trouble. Eat some, also, let's talk about the cuisine for a
Sure.
second.
Irish,
I
famous
think,
for their cuisine.
honestly,
Some of the worst food in the world comes from Ireland. And
world
England.
famous. Absolutely, but we're not talking mashed peas here. We're talking corned beef and cabbage and
we are.
and soda bread. And I love all three of those so much. I mean, corned beef is incredible. Soda bread, not everyone loves, but I do. It's just baking soda mixed with bread. It's great. And to you psychos out there, when there's raisins in it, it's even better.
Oh my god, it's awful.
And corned beef, cabbage is also awesome. I mean, this is all
you
not
have me
fucking around.
there.
And you have potatoes.
I think soda bread, they can take it. I can take it or leave that. But corned beef and cabbage and some boiled potatoes, delicious.
Do
love it.
Yummy, yum, yum. Yep.
I mean,
what else, Joe? Like, what else did you eat there? Like, cause you've been there. Like, what else? What else is up?
shepherd's pie. I had.
Just like the usual. Fucking
beef,
love that.
Sure, yeah. Beef stew. They use the Guinness.
Love
to
beef stew.
Beef. Yeah.
What are you saying? Their cuisine ain't good. That sounds like the best, most.
I know. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's. I mean, you can go anywhere and get delicious food. The best Irish food is fucking delicious. I'm not talking shit about the food as a whole, but as a culture, the cuisine leaves much to be desired. I mean, if you're number one way,
it's all great.
Boiling them. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't boil. Meat and potatoes. You cook them, but the Irish way to do it is the blandest, shittiest way possible.
Yeah, their entire cuisine is a different shade of gray and dark red. The whole thing, everything they eat. So,
I mean,
yeah,
I
get it. I get it, but it's good.
The cuisine isn't their strong suit, but like you said, there's still deliciousness to be found, and corned beef and cabbage is top ranked among them.
And aren't potatoes not even native to Ireland? They came from America when America was conquered. Then they got brought back to Ireland. Ireland depended on potatoes, and then got a famine from something they didn't even invent.
Yeah, it's the same thing for corn, where I always
because they relied on it.
I always figured that corn and potatoes just existed everywhere, but those are both, if I'm not mistaken, they're both strictly American crops that they brought back to Europe. You know what? Another crop that they brought back to Europe from the Americas, speaking of cuisine, tomatoes, which means that Italy didn't have tomatoes until the Americas.
You shouldn't.
Sounds insane to me, right? Yeah. Why
Seriously?
would I mean, Italian food is so strictly tied with tomatoes that you would think there's no way. But tomatoes and corn and potatoes did not exist in Europe until well into the most recent millennium. It's very strange, but yeah, that's the case.
That's crazy. I knew the other parts. I didn't know about the tomato part. Yeah. That's really crazy.
So talking about the Incans of the Mayans, they were making all kinds of corn and tomato deliciousness well before Italy or shepherd's pie in England ever was created. That's it.
Wow. See what happens when the world works as one. We get things like shepherd pie.
We can have all this delicious food all together. Yes.
All together.
Yes.
So good.
So yeah, that's all I got for tying into St. Patrick's Day, just to tie it into our theme of the week. But that seems to be why it got all why leprechauns became green, because they're so closely tied with the myths about Ireland and Irish culture, and then green turns out to be the color of Ireland, even though it wasn't always. It should have always been, though. I mean, that
makes sense.
I mean, as much as it's not a beautiful tropical island, it is green. It's green as hell. It's one of the most green places I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm dying to go. It's on my list of things to do. I mean, St. Patrick's Day, we didn't mention it, but we mentioned it briefly. I don't know if you can see this and put it somewhere, but Guinness, huge part of it. Having something that comes from St. James Gate in Dublin, Ireland. Yum, yum, yum.
Mm-hmm. And I
need at least 3 tall cans to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're someone like us, like just coming from professionals, you need a few of them.
Exactly. Usually you think a stout's have a little bit more alcohol content, but yeah, no, he's right. Especially you drink a Guinness a little bit
4.6.
slower. It's a stout. That's not going to do it. You gotta have at least a 4-pack.
Yeah, they had another one that was 5.5 or something, and I was like, that seems a little too. They're trying to just make something it's not. So I was like, That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, they're like, oh, it's like a bolder and a dryer finish. I was like, don't fuck with that. It is
No,
what it
no, no.
is
Yeah.
for what it is. Established in 1759. Don't just leave it alone. You
Yeah,
know?
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And
Guinness is
also,
getting
the true
like,
Irish way to drink a Guinness is not only to use a glass and pour it out of the keg, but I think we all know it. So you got to have a little sidecar, as we call it in America, which is a shot of Jameson on the side. That's how you get going.
yes,
Do a
yeah,
shot of
you do.
JMO,
That's how you get it.
Guinness in you, and then you can have 3 or 4 pints of it. Now you're sailing. You're getting a shot of Jameson the other way, and now you're getting drunk the Irish way. So that's really the way to do it.
Yeah, a shot of JMO per Guinness
Yes.
is about a normal beer, and you're rocking.
Exactly.
I mean, you're feeling great.
Yeah. I wouldn't
It's
recommend it for
only-
everybody, but if you can get down with it, the Jameson and Guinness, it's a fun ride to go on, especially coming up next week for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, good move. Solid move. Skip the dyed IPAs and go for a JMO and a Ghetto.
Yeah. Skip the
Reno.
fucking Bud Light with green food coloring in there and get a Guinness and a JMO sidecar. You're gonna thank us later.
Yeah. Be a man or a woman and get it done.
Exactly right.
Cockles and mussels alive.
I was gonna hop into how we know leprechauns today. I mean, most people don't read these old storybooks or the history of St. Patrick, and we know it from popular culture. I mean, leprechauns are everywhere in popular culture. I thought we could rattle off a couple of those just to round out the podcast and take us on home. Does that sound good?
Absolutely. And I think a good way to segue into this one is that the first time we saw leprechauns in our lives was probably when we were kids. And to go into popular culture, it's when you go to the furniture store when you're 4 years old and you come back and all the furniture is in a different room. And you go, what happened with that? And then there's a bag of chocolate gold. That's what my parents used to do.
What the?
We'd come home and then all the
fuck
like.
are you talking about? I've never heard of that before.
Is that Easter?
You're talking about it like it's so normal. Well, I mean, maybe. Hold on.
Yeah. All right, you're shitting on me, and you and your mom have fucking Gaelic code words to make sure you guys are real people. Okay, you tell me I'm fucking crazy because my parents used to play tricks on us on St. Patrick's Day.
No, I love that. That's fucking wonderful. But I've never heard of anyone doing that. You're like, I think we all know when we're kids when they move all the furniture and then you have gold coins. What the fuck are you talking about? Never heard of that in my life. That's
You and your mom are doing things like you guys both did acid when you were 4 years old. Like you're like, hey, I just gotta be sure that you're a real human. We have a code word. We have a code word in a different language that's based on our ancestors. A password. And then I came home. I remember one time we went to the furniture store, and we came back and we had like the living room when you first walked in the door on the right had furniture in it, and all the furniture was flipped upside down, and everything from there was moved into a separate room, and then under them was like those bags of candy gold. And we're like, holy
no, I've never
shit.
heard of that. That's amazing. I love it.
We're like, oh my God, they were here. Like the leprechauns did come. And then we get little gifts.
No, I never had a St. Patrick's Day where there was ever an idea of leprechauns showing up. An Easter Bunny, yeah.
Bring it
Santa
back,
Claus, yeah.
guys.
Tooth Fairy,
I don't know where this came from, but this is a thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Easter.
it's cool. Cool.
So
All right, we're back in action.
Back in action. We're talking about St. Patrick's Day and leprechauns and popular.
Yeah, I never heard about it.
My funny
Leprechauns
story.
showing up. I mean, as much as leprechauns are fun stories, my mom never tricked me that leprechauns existed. Unlike the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, and Santa Claus, those all existed and they changed my life in certain ways. But leprechauns never were part of St. Patrick's Day. It was like maybe they give you like some chocolate coins or something as like a fun gift. But my mom never said like, "Oh, the leprechauns came and they bought us new furniture and flipped it upside down." Or whatever. I never heard that before.
They didn't buy us anything. Leprechauns weren't generous with like that, but they would fuck up the whole house.
Wow.
And then leave candy.
Well, at least they left the candy.
Specifically the gold coins, just the gold coins.
Yeah, the chocolate coins where you unwrap them and there's chocolate on the
So
inside.
if you guys are out there, I'd do that. It's really, really fun. I mean, I have great memories from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one.
Yeah. So besides that, so popular culture. So last night I was like, all right, I got this. I
Mhm.
rented Leprechaun 4 in space because I've seen Leprechaun 1.
Oh boy, I got that on my list of pop culture for sure. I mean, it's
Yeah, so
called Leprechaun. It's called
it's called
Leprechaun. Yeah.
Leprechaun, and most of us have seen the original Leprechaun. It's almost like it reminds me of Gremlins, only so much more scary. The way
Yeah. So
the way he
I
goes
was
about
terrified of
himself
that
is
when I
great.
first watched it as a kid. It was so scary. Leprechaun. Yeah. I mean, in that movie, they depict the leprechaun as more of like a monster and less of like a whimsical fairy because he kills you because he wants all his gold back and he looks like a goblin. And
Yeah,
in that movie, two fun facts about that movie that I didn't have to look up. I just already knew this shit. First of all, the guy who plays the leprechaun, his first movie he ever did, he played Wicket and the Return of the Jedi, the Ewok who befriends Princess Leia and is like the main Ewok of all of them. The same guy who was a little kid in that suit became the adult who played the leprechaun in Leprechaun. His name's Warwick Davis. It's
that's so
wild. Yeah. He's
I
played
didn't
a
know
lot of
that.
other
It's a
parts.
really
But
great fact.
and it was the first movie, Leprechaun was the first movie, I should say, of a very famous actress, Jennifer Aniston. The first movie she was ever in was
You
the
gotta be
original
kidding me. I know
Leprechaun.
she's in it, but I didn't know that was her first movie.
Yeah, and folks, we'll put the picture up here, but absolute smoke show. I mean, she's still gorgeous right now, but in Leprechaun, it was like you're gonna be a star, kid.
Hmm.
It was, yeah, she's beautiful.
So 3 sequels later, they made Leprechaun in Space, and
Yeah.
after Leprechaun in the Hood, after Leprechaun 2, after
Yeah.
other Leprechauns, and
Well, yeah, we had Leprechaun 1, 2, and 3. Then they started getting cute. They went in space, and then in the hood, and then back to the hood with the number 2.
yeah, and
So how was Leprechaun in space? How far did you get through it before you had to
I
shut
made
it
it
up?
5 minutes and I couldn't do it anymore.
I
I
mean,
couldn't do it.
the first one I would recommend checking out if you're like a horror movie fan, like Dylan is, and like I am too. But you probably don't have to watch the rest of them. The rest of them are purely watch it on like campy, shitty movie because you don't even have to get to the hood before they start getting terrible.
Yeah, and however, I think Ice Cube is in the first The Hood one. So
I think Ice-T is in it. I don't think Ice Cube is in it.
oh, that changes it because
Different
that's
Ice.
not nearly as funny as Ice Cube's a better actor.
Well, he's obviously in the Are We There Yet franchise, which made him
Yes,
famous.
as he's known for. Yeah, exactly. Not Friday.
Not Friday.
Yeah, or any of the other ones. But
Triple
I
X2,
paid
State of the
money
Union.
for this, and I still was like, "Fuck this movie! I can't do it." Like it's just. Honestly, guys, just to say, it really is exactly the same quality as Iborgs. I mean, we love Iborgs here on the
It probably costs so much more money than Iborgs, but it is the
because
same
it's so
quality.
funny, but it's the same level of like Sharknado, Iborgs,
Mm-hmm.
Leprechaun 4 in space. It's all the same.
Yeah, there was a time period where, like in the early 2000s, where they tried to put everything in space to make it more scary. Like they put Jason X is Friday the 13th in space, which is another thing. Like, there's no reason for the Leprechaun or Jason to be in space, but it was like the cool thing to do at the time. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's very like like.
I think it's like the turn of the millennium. It's like Men in Black, Starship Troopers, that kind of idea. Like let's put it in space. It's more exciting. Everyone will wear silver jumpsuits, and that's sci-fi future. Terrible idea. I mean, just because Alien can do it, Alien did it the right way. You don't just get to jump on a spaceship and act like you're the movie Alien. It's not that easy, of course, because people don't really talk about Leprechaun in space or in the hood or Return to the Hood, which no one has seen that. Come on.
No one's seen Return to the Hood.
No one's seen Return to the Hood. Even if you did see In the Hood, because Ice-T was in it, you're not going to Return to the Hood, number 2.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that was at the end of my list. So you have to bring up Leprechaun about leprechauns. I mean, that's the pop culture depiction. But the first thing I had on my list is Notre Dame University's mascot. The Notre Dame is called the Fighting Irish, and they have a leprechaun, putting up his dukes on all the merchandise and the things all like that. Which it did make me think. How much time until that has to change until they have to change their mascot? I mean, everyone's cool with it, obviously, because Irish people aren't in a marginalized group right now. But it's like you're literally named it after. I mean, but what if you had the New York City whining Italians? It'd be kind of weird still.
It's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
They're the Fighting Irish. It's like those Irish they get get a little tipsy, they get a little angry, and they put up their dukes.
They put them up, they fight.
They're not tough, but they'll throw a couple fucking hands.
Yeah,
I'm not actually serious with it. They're probably never going to change the name. I just thought that was funny that they still have. I mean, they're changing names.
I hope
from,
they don't, but we're in the type of culture where they do change this shit up, and
that's what I mean. I mean, it makes sense to me that you change the name from the Washington Redskins, which is a super offensive name.
Makes sense.
But the Fighting Irish, I think it's got some time to go, but people will find a reason
They'll find a reason.
Change that one too.
But name one Irish guy from the 20s that didn't get in fights all the fucking time.
Can't name one. Can't name one.
My grandfather had a nose that was literally flat.
Yeah.
Not kidding.
They already have, all
he did was get in fights.
Burst blood vessels on their face from the drinking, and then you get a couple of scraps. Basically, we look like cherry tomatoes on top of our necks. And get all Irish stuff.
This before, but this man was born 1923, 24,
Mm-hmm.
and all he did in the Navy was go up and down the coast on the USS Chimango from Bangor to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And every time their boat docked, they would just get in fights and get back on the boat.
That's the nature of the beast, the Fighting Irish.
His nose would show that, like it was just like all these different directions and flat because he just got his nose broken so many times.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Just how it goes.
The next one I had is what I thought you were gonna say when you said we all knew this from being kids. Before you talked to me about this crazy furniture gold coin thing, I didn't realize is that Lucky the Leprechaun.
I knew you were gonna say
Lucky
that.
Charms.
I'm insulted because you said from kids, but what about us adults, Joe?
I'm not. No. I'm saying that you said it.
Lucky Charms every day. What about us?
I'm not saying that you can't eat. You can't eat Lucky Charms as an adult. Is that you said we all know leprechauns from being a kid. It's Lucky Charms. I mean, it's the cereal, it's the commercials we're on. That's the leprechaun you see as a kid, whether your parents get creative or not. Everyone knows Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious. There's hearts, stars, and horseshoes, clovers and blue moons, pots of gold and rainbows, and
marshmallows.
Are you shitting me? Marshmallow. Those are all the marshmallows. They're all the shapes and the red balloons.
Oh, the red balloons.
The red balloons. Of course.
You got me good on that one. The red balloons. I didn't know.
I thought it'd be a knockout since as you as an adult still eat Lucky Charms, and I don't even like Lucky Charms, but I still know all the different shapes.
I mean, I fucking look at them.
You don't need to look at them when you're eating them. They taste the same.
That's a trick question because every couple of months they change up with a special, the special marshmallow.
Well, I don't know those. I don't know the original lineup that rhymes.
What year is the original lineup from? Do you know?
I don't know. No, but it's old enough that was. I mean, their catchphrase was that thing I just said. I didn't just memorize them. I only know it because the commercial was always hearts, stars, and horseshoes, clovers and blue moons. It was like that was the thing. That's why I know it. But I think that was interesting that they tied that into the leprechaun thing because they have, things like horseshoes has to do with luck. Obviously, pots of gold, rainbows, easily leprechaun things. But the whole conceit of the commercial was that they trying to get his Lucky Charms, much like the leprechaun. You have to catch him to get his prize. They had to try to catch Lucky the leprechaun to get the Lucky Charms, which it ties into the mythology of the leprechaun. Had to bring that up.
Yeah. No, yeah, they're trying to steal his marshmallows. So, a couple other facts about Lucky Charms as a huge Lucky Charms fan.
Please.
Created 1963, and before Lucky the Leprechaun was called Lucky the Leprechaun, he was also known as Sir Charms. In 1963, he wasn't even called Charms. He was called LC Leprechaun, L.C. as in
Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms Leprechaun.
That's so much more boring than Lucky, or my favorite, Sir Charms.
Sir Charms.
I like that one a lot. He's been knighted.
Yeah.
The only knighted leprechaun.
And an interesting fact about him, two interesting facts. The cereal was originally a Frankenstein cereal, which is
Frankenberry?
No. But the original Frankenberry, I guess you could say, is because it was a bunch of different shit put in a bag. So like, all right, we have basically like frosted Cheerios, and then we have circus peanuts. Let's combine them. So it was this combination of circus peanuts and like frosted Cheerios.
That sounds terrible.
Well, it's an oat based, so it's basically just frosted Cheerios and circus peanuts, and then they changed the recipe of the marshmallows a little bit, but that's pretty much what it is.
I mean, it still is that today, right? It's not circles, but it's frosted oats, and then the marshmallows in there.
Yeah. And so that's exactly, and it's fucking great. And for a brief weird moment in breakfast history, Lucky was impeached from mascot office. Did you know that?
This is news to me.
In
Please fill the people in. We're
1975
begging to know.
they're begging to know. In 1975, after 12 years of a good run with Lucky Charms, he was
Sure.
impeached for some reason because General Mills wanted to test out Waldo the Wizard, who is a forgetful sorcerer who misplaced his Lucky Charms in every commercial and used the catchphrase "Ibble de Bibble Delicious" only in New England markets. And guess what? Didn't work out for Waldo the Wizard.
He's no longer the mascot. So
His
spoiler
wife-
alert,
yeah,
he
yeah,
sucks.
His shot at a fucking pension. Didn't
I
work.
mean, it sounds pretty easy to just slap a mascot on cereal, but you build the brand. You get the Trix Rabbit, right? You got Fruity Pebbles. You got the Flintstones in there. I mean, there's some hard mascot. Captain Crunch. Let's not forget the Captain. Crunchitize me, Captain. You know what I mean? Those are some big. Tony the Tiger, great. You
Count
can't just
Chocula?
slap Willie the
Awesome.
Wizard. What's his name? Waldo the Wizard. Come on.
Waldo
Lucky
the-
Charms. It's gotta be Lucky Leprechaun, and I'm glad he's back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like who would want to have anything to do with Waldo the Wizard?
Yeah.
Waldo, the name's always a weird one, but not in a good way. Wizards.
Yeah, well, there's already Where's Waldo, the most famous Waldo. You're not going to outshine him by being a wizard. And also, just make Waldo his own cereal that'll get canceled rather than taking it from Lucky or Sir Charmed.
Yep, exactly. And speaking of Sir Charm, I mean, I know that leprechauns are kind of dicks, but
Yeah.
you know who's even more of a dick, quite frankly?
Who's that?
Wizards. I've never met a good wizard in a game that I didn't hate.
Hmm.
You know, these leprechauns are kind of like transparently assholes. Wizards always just seem to be so condescending.
Sure.
No,
Wise.
they always are. They really are. And then if they use their magic against you, it's always such a fucked up magic that's like so hard to defend against. So
Yeah,
wants to
but
be
I really do
cool
think we should do a
wizards.
podcast on wizards, though.
Fucking-
I know I had that on the list for today's episode. I think we should do one on wizards because there's so many wizards, and there's so many different versions of them that I think it'd be worth looking into. Because I can think of a bunch of wizards that I love, and a bunch of wizards that I also got fucked over with, like you said, who use their magic in cursed ways that screw you over. And condescending is definitely a
Condescending, I
part
think,
of being
is very
a
key.
wizard because hundreds of years of arcane knowledge and magic kind of makes other people, when they talk to you, they feel like they're stupid, and then you act like an asshole to them because you think you're better than them.
Yeah.
It's definitely a wizardy
And
thing
the
to do.
21st century really circled back into wizards and made the ultimate condescending wizard of all time, which is the help wizard on anything on your laptop.
Oh yeah.
Fucking always an asshole who tells you,
Yeah.
try restarting your computer.
I thought you were gonna say Harry Potter
Oh,
because the
God.
21st century wizard definitely is Harry Potter.
Yeah, he's a little more personable, but the help wizard,
Yeah, the help wizard. Yeah, the setup
Christ,
wizard.
fucking hate that asshole. So
Yeah,
anyway, so that's Lucky Charms.
you can go fuck.
That's a popular culture.
Yeah. Besides, I had one other one, which is the Disney Channel original movie. I don't know if you remember it, but
Oh yes, I do.
The
'cause
Luck
I
of the
just watched
Irish.
A movie with him in it.
yeah, the Luck of the Irish. So that's a story about a kid who finds out that he has leprechauns in his family tree. In fact, his grandfather is a leprechaun. And much like Teen Wolf or other coming of age tales, he learns that he's becoming a leprechaun, and he becomes much worse at basketball as he shrinks down. His hair turns orange.
Yep.
I mean, I haven't seen it since it came out, but I have a distinct memory of that movie, Luck of the Irish. And the guy who plays his grandfather is the same guy who plays the Nazi in Blues Brothers, who's chasing down the Blues Brothers, which I thought was like great because he looks exactly the same.
He's also in a movie I just watched too.
He's a big time actor. He's in a ton of shit.
Velvet. It was something weird. Yeah, he's a serious actor, and you see him and you're like, hey, that's the guy from.
I've only seen him in Luck of the Irish and Blues Brothers, but he's been in a ton of stuff. But yeah, that movie was good, Luck of the Irish. I at some point I imagine he turns back to his regular self, but not before learning a lesson about becoming a leprechaun, I'm sure.
Yep. I forget. It's been 20 years since I've seen it, but that is definitely.
But you know the formula of Disney Channel original movies is pretty much the same thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, of course he's playing basketball, so immediately when you're shorter, you're not as good at it. It's great. And then there's one last one, which I'm gonna put the video up in the podcast because it's my favorite Leprechaun video of all time. It's a news story This is old YouTube. This is maybe 2-3 years into YouTube being famous. And if I can find the original video, it must have millions of views. It's a news story about a neighborhood that claims there's a leprechaun living in a tree. And there's a particular tree. And the news camera, and they come there and they interview the people. And the whole crowd is losing their minds laughing. They're all like, there's a leprechaun in that there tree. And the guy goes, anyone here seen a leprechaun? Say hell yeah. And everyone goes, hell yeah. And he looks at the camera and he smiles so satisfied. And they go, here's an artist's depiction of what they saw. It's literally like a U shape, 2 circles, and a hat. And they're like, that's a leprechaun.
Well, just in time for St. Patrick's Day, crowds are coming by the dozens to get an up-close view at what some say is a piece of Irish folklore.
Some people in the Crichton area of Mobile say a leprechaun is taking up residence in their neighborhood. The news story.
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. All I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun and say yeah?
If you shine a light in its direction, it suddenly disappears.
Oh.
This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the leprechaun looks like.
Others find it hard to believe and have come up with their own theories and explanations for the image. There is cast the shadow from the other male.
He's strapped. He's ready to kill the leprechaun.
Put your vest on, man.
This guy helping to direct traffic says he's prepared for his encounter with the leprechaun. He's suited up from head to toe.
He's gonna kill the leprechaun. He's all suited up.
Years ago from my great-great-grandfather who was Irish. I just came to help out.
Others just came to get lucky in hopes a
His
pot of
ancestors
gold
were
may be
Irish, so they have a
buried
leprechaun
under this
flute.
tree.
I'm gonna run a backhoe and uproot that tree. I want to know where to go. I want to
Where to go with that? Where to go with that?
I want to go.
This is Brian Johnson, NBC 15.
Oh, that is.
I mean, come on. Isn't that that's just great? Every part of the video is, I mean, 2.6 million views. It deserves more than that, in my opinion. I love that video.
Absolutely. And he used to say, jokes on fucking us, man. I mean, based off of our protocol for sightings, you got a lot of people.
It's a lot of witnesses.
unless one person saw one thing they thought they saw and then brought everyone else there to go see it. I don't know.
Well, that's almost certainly what it is, right? And they even said, well, as soon as you shine a flashlight, it disappears. Like, imagine that. As soon as you try to look at it, it goes away. Who would have guessed that?
Like
and then the artist depiction, they even say it's amateur depiction. Like, we don't know it's a fucking amateur. It's like 2 shapes.
Well, my favorite is they're like people would take out their recorders, their binoculars, and sometimes even their smartphones.
Ooh, smartphone. That's a new thing. Yeah, everyone has camcorders. Yeah, I love how the guy I forgot that he had the flute that was passed down for generations.
Yep.
Because he's prepared for his encounter with the leprechaun in case the leprechaun tries to kill him, I guess. He was strapped. Bulletproof vest.
It looks like a galvanized pipe with a couple holes in it.
Well, what are you talking about? That's an old Irish flute passed down for generations.
It's great.
So yeah, that's all I gotta say about leprechauns. I love them. They're great.
Well, that's all I got for leprechauns. Besides, I think everybody should get back more into leprechauns.
Agreed.
Enjoy your drinks on St. Patrick's Day, and we'll see you guys next week for a special. What are we gonna call this? A special travel episode of the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna be headed down south. Going down to Florida, and we're gonna have a topic that is near and dear to the Atlantic coast of Florida and that area in general. Not to spoil it, but we're gonna be doing a travel episode. Like Dylan said, I'm gonna be down outside of Orlando for the next episode, so we'll be looking forward to that.
We got special permission to have a field trip from our producers.
That's right.
To go investigate certain phenomenon that does happen.
Yeah. I'm going to be putting boots on the ground. I'm doing some field reporting. I'm going to go out there and see what I can find out. I'm going to report back to you folks, and we're going to talk about it. because
we're tired of just hearing things that we haven't experienced. So
that's right.
Sending one of our own down to go find out for ourselves.
It's high time. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's high time we go out and do our own reporting rather than just combing the internet for ideas because we get some firsthand info. So I'm gonna get down there. I'm gonna ask some people who are experts on the subject, and hopefully Dylan can corroborate, being an aviation, somewhat of an aviation aficionado that he is. And we'll try to put those ideas together that we can't figure out. So look forward to next week. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. If you haven't watched the podcast yet, watch it before St. Patty's Day or watch it with us. And slancha to all those folks out there enjoying themselves and have a great goddamn week.
At the very least, just throw it, if you guys are all having dinner at your big table or whatever it is, just throw it on the TV. Sometimes in Christmas, put the fake fireplace on, put the D&J BP on for St. Patty's Day. Just have us up there.
Listen to the sultry tones of our voice.
Your family members do, so sometimes we won't talk as much.
Yeah, you can either agree with us and have a topic of conversation, or you can all team up against us and all make fun of us on the TV. We don't care either way.
Make sure if you make fun of us to record it and make sure you comment, please.
We would love to hear that. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, comment, share, follow, request, join us, give us money, whatever you want to do. Make it right down. That's the Dylan Joe Basic Podcast, guys.
In Dublin's fair city, where girls are so pretty, I once met a girl named Sweet Molly Malone. She rolled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels.
Go to the beach. That's what he said himself.
Those nice Irish
Go to the beach.
They're always talking about. Glorious.
Exactly. A
Take
nice
off your
sunny,
sandals and freeze your
warm...
ass off at an Irish beach. I can't think of a worse place to go beaching than Ireland, really. Well, yeah, we had Leprechaun 1, 2, and 3. Then they started getting cute. They went in space and then in the hood and then back to the hood with the number 2. So how was Leprechaun in space? How far did you get through it?
I made it 5 minutes.
Are one of those. They're usually depicted as tiny old men rather than women. They're almost always male leprechauns. I couldn't find.
I've never seen a girl leprechaun.
Yeah, I would want to.
Everyone needs someone to love, man. They're gonna be out there.
Yeah, but a huge part of leprechauns is that they're hermits and they're kind of grouchy old crotchety men. I mean, they don't have wives. They don't have a lot of friends. They just kind of live in the woods by themselves, and that's kind of their deal. Like any old Irish man should be angry and live alone and hate the world. It's a very Irish thing, leprechauns.
It's a very Irish thing to do.
It is, isn't it?
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else in the leprechaun say yeah? Yeah!